we're going. Good morning. Wow, this is the first YouTube video that I'm doing, which is really exciting. So, little background, I've switched all of my knitting updates from Instagram here. Why? Well, I'm a chatty Cathy, and I love sharing about my projects, but I can only do so in very small increments on Instagram stories. And over the months, I've seen my stories just get longer and longer and longer. And there are some people who watch all of them, which I'm so grateful for. But there's even more that I want to talk about and get into, like, the nitty-gritty. So I just thought, why not take my mornings, my knitting updates, and bring them over here so I can have a longer conversation. And that's how Mornings with Tiffany kind of started. So if you're here, which I know there's like at least 3 of you, hi, thanks. I'm so happy that you're here and you even care about what I'm saying. This is just, my plan with this is to just be real and raw, okay? You gotta understand that I come from school drop-off. I actually bike my kid to school. So 9 times out of 10, my hair is not done, or I have a big old helmet line. I'm also usually in a sweater or a hoodie. And yeah, I'm usually drinking something hot. Today I'm having a gingerbread chai because it's a little chilly. And I'm usually always stuffing my face with a croissant. So yeah, let's just do a little about me and then we'll get into the knitting update. So, as I said, my name is Tiffany. I am a wife to an amazing man, and I'm a mom to the sweetest little boy. And currently, it's so hard when people are like, so where are you from? It's hard for us to say because we are an active duty military family. So we are all over the place. If you were to ask us, though, where are we from? I would say that our home base is Ohio. Both my husband and I grew up in Ohio, not in the same town, but my parents now live in a small town near-ish to where I grew up, and so we call that home base. We're both from Ohio, and yeah, currently, though, physically, we live in Germany. We live in a town of Wiesbaden, and we've been here since the end of May 2024. So, yeah, we are here for my husband's job, as I said. He's active duty military. He's a pilot. I can actually now say what he does because before I had no idea. But he's a pilot. He flies a little prop plane and loves his job. So yeah, you will not probably see him, and I am gonna keep it that way. My husband is a very private person. Everybody jokes that he's an enigma. They don't know anything about him. He does not exist in the online world. He has no social media, nothing like that. So I'm going to respect that, and we'll keep him off of here. And yeah, this December we will be married for 9 years. We have a very unconventional story. We actually met at a grocery store that we both worked at. I was a cashier and he was a bagger, and then I found out he was dating somebody, so I was like, oh, never mind. But it was definitely me who had eyes first. A couple of months passed, though, and I get a message on my Facebook, which at the time he had, and basically asking me out. And so I went. Actually, I tried to cancel because I was really nervous. I really liked this guy, and I got nervous and tried to cancel, but I went anyway, and it was great. And I said, if he asks me out again, I'm gonna need to tell him. And he asked me out again, and I said, listen, Jared, I really like you. I think you're awesome. However, we can't date. There's a rule at the place that we work, and the bagger and the cashier, that relationship can't happen. I think they think you're gonna like heist the place and like pass items through for free and work as a team. I don't know. And I said, listen, I really like you, but I need my job to pay my bills. And so he was like, no, it's all right. Like, I get it. And a couple weeks pass, and I go into work on my Sunday. I worked every other Sunday. He worked every Sunday, and that's all he worked there. He also worked at Domino's. That was his main gig. And he came up to me and he was like, hey, I just want to let you know I quit my job here. I put my 2 weeks in today. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I never get to see my friends. I never get to relax. If I'm not working at Domino's, I'm working here. And I just think I need a break. And I'm like, well, you're quitting just for that reason, right? Like, you're not quitting your job to date me, correct? Like, and he was like, no. Like, I have no time. I have no social life. And I was like, okay, if that's what it is. And he was like, so how about we set up for a date now that I'm not gonna be working here anymore. And I was like, okay. Months later, he finally confesses, yes, Tiffany, you dummy, I quit my job so I could date you. Which I still to this day don't believe. I'm like, no, you did not. You quit so that you have time and a social life and time to see your friends. And he's like, no, I totally quit to date you. But that's how we met. And then shortly after starting dating, he was like, hey, I think I want to join the Army. And I was like, oh boy, do I know how to pick them. But we weren't like, I didn't feel like we were far enough in our dating relationship for me to really have a say. And so I was like, you do you, boo, like whatever you want to do. I'll support you, and we'll try to make it work, but we'll just have to see. I don't want to make any promises. Yeah, well, it worked. We wrote to each other every day, and it was so difficult being apart. And then after his basic, he moved to Colorado while I was still in Ohio. And I went out and visited him, and we had talked about like our future and stuff. And it was just getting to the point where we hated the distance. And he was like, listen, I don't know when, and I don't know how, but I'm gonna marry you. And so you should just start planning. And before he left for basic, oh my God, before he left for basic, he actually asked my parents for their blessing. Like, he was like, I don't know when, but I love your daughter and I want to marry her. And then I just want to get your guys's, permission before, but I don't know when it's going to happen. And so, yeah, I went out and visited him in March. I walked off of the plane back home. My mom had 3 venues set up for us to see. And yeah, he came back home the end of June that year, surprised me. And at that point, I had our entire wedding planned. I had already bought my dress. When I tell you it was unconventional, it was unconventional. And we got married that December. And yeah, we have just been through the ringer with the Army. Deployments, distance, career switches, moves upon moves upon moves. We started in Colorado, we moved to New York, then we moved to Georgia, then we moved to Alabama, and then from Alabama we came overseas, and here we are. So he spent 10 years in the military, and he's looking to do the full 20, so halfway there. But yeah, and then my sweet little boy, he's a COVID baby, and I feel like that's enough said. He's a COVID kid, and he has a speech delay that we are working really hard at, and he's getting so much better, and it's just so sweet to hear his little voice like starting to flourish. So he loves his school, he loves bike rides. Like I said, we bike everywhere over here. I bike him to school every day, and yeah, he is just all boy. Like, he is, I wish I had the energy that he has. But he's just the sweetest. He's very kind, he's very gentle, he's very sensitive. He's my sensitive little boy. So yeah, And that's me. So we live here in Germany, and yeah, we're gonna be here till what's our date? June 2027, unless something changes. There's always that. Where are we going next? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. It's like the number one question always gets asked. Where are you guys going next? Where are you guys going to next? I have no idea. Well, when will you know? Maybe a couple months before we're set to move. Like it's just a hurry up and wait situation. So yeah. So we're here in Germany, and my mornings usually do not coincide with other people's mornings. So that's all right. That's why this is pre-recorded and not live. Also, I can't go live till I get 50 subscribers. So thanks if you did subscribe. We're not quite there, but we're working towards it, okay? This chai is hitting the spot. So let's get into it now that you know a little bit about me. Let's do the knitting update, and I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing. I'm going to talk about my current whips, my current projects that I have, and I wanted to share our Christmas sweaters this year and do a little more in depth about the patterns that I used, the yarns that I used, and all of that, because I just touched on it in my stories. As I finished each one, I've been working on this since July. I just finished my husband's last week, and I blocked this weekend, and I just want to share a little more about them. So let's start off with what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Seasons sweater by Ozetta. I made this oh my goodness, was it 2021? It's just popped up on my time hop, which is why I know. Yeah, 2021, I believe it was. And yeah, it's a color block. It's a half fisherman rib. This was before I knew Italian bind off, so the bottom does not stretch. That's okay though. I made this in Woolstock worsted, and it's not my favorite. It's very warm. You gotta also understand, I am 100% wool galley. Okay, I love wool over any other fiber. Okay, so Woolstock, it's 100% wool. It's great. However, my beef with 100% wool and some yarns, only some, is the piling. Now, you're gonna get piles no matter what, but I just feel like this sweater, more than anything, there are piles just all over this. And I don't like shaving them off like too often because it just takes away all the wool. But this sweater is it's really piley. And that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. But that's why Woolstock is not like my top choice yarn. But I did love making this pattern. It was my first time doing half fisherman rib. I do remember I had to rip back because I messed up right when I picked up my sleeves, and yeah, I just remember that being a headache because picking up or frogging back in half fisherman rib is not the easiest thing to do. But that is what I'm wearing. Yeah, I do love it. I do wear it. It's just not my absolute favorite. Look at that pile. It's just not my favorite because there are just a lot of piles. But I do have a gleaner that I use every now and then, but yeah. Whoa, big chunk of cinnamon. Okay, let's talk about what I'm working on. So I have 2 projects that I'm currently working on. Oh, and I'm gonna tell you about this Happy Mail that's on its way to me. I can't wait. Okay, whips first. This bag, I actually just found it on Etsy the other day, but I got this bag in Switzerland, in Zermatt. Also, another thing about us you gotta know is we travel a lot because we're over here and we know it's only for a limited time. So we travel a lot. We just got back from Scotland. And I'm gearing up to go to my first ever yarn festival. You know, like Rhinebeck back in the States. Okay, I'm going to the one in Zurich, Switzerland, in like 1 2.5 weeks. I'm so excited. It's called Knit Fest. If you want to look it up, you should look it up. It's going to be amazing. I'm going alone. I don't have any knitting friends over here. Nobody knits. And so it sounds super sad that I'm going alone, but I have gotten used to just kind of doing things on my own because I don't have any friends over here, especially any friends that knit. So I'm going to go because I want to buy yarn and experience my first ever yarn festival, which will be in Switzerland. But I got this bag in Zermatt over the summer when we went and visited. One of the top 3 places I've ever been, by the way. And in it is housing my first whip, which is the Hipster Hat by Petite Knit. Now, this hat, this is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. This is my 5th one. Why have I made so many? It's a great pattern. It's a great pattern. Actually, here's the 4th one I just finished. It's a 2x2 rib hat. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a 2x2 rib hat, but these are great gift knits because any ribbed like object, socks, hat, it's great to gift because you don't need to know people's exact measurements because it stretches, like insanely stretches. And so it's a very forgiving type of a pattern. So this one is for my nephew for Christmas. Yes, I am that aunt that gives them hand knit things instead of probably something they want. They don't appreciate it now, but someday they will, okay? So this is my nephew's, and then this is for my niece. This is the Hipster Hat by Petite Knit. I am using Malabrigo Rios in the colorway Peachy. This I think is technically a worsted weight. I'd call it a light worsted heavy DK. And yeah, this is what I'm using. If you're wondering why it's 2 different tones, it's because I had like a half a skein, not even half a skein, like it was just a little ball, and I didn't want to waste it. So that's why it's 2 different colors, different dye lots. Whoops, but you're never gonna know because it gets folded up. It'll be fine, it's not a big deal. She is like 5 years old, so it's not a big deal. She's just gonna think, oh, it's pink, it's cute. So I'm slowly working on this. I actually got all of this progress done this week, which is really exciting. It is a fast, I would say mindless knit. Yes, it's 2x2, but it's very easy to follow along with what you're doing. So yeah, working on this. And then after this, I only have one more Christmas project to do, which I'm very excited about. And so yeah, when I am tired of my other project I'm about to share, I switch to this because it's a mindless, it can go in my purse, I can do it on the bus, I can really do it anytime. It's a great little one to have. So that's my current, well, one of my current whips is that one. And I'm gonna pause because I want to bite my croissant. Okay. What's next? Man, that croissant is good. Really, really good. What sets it over is I stuff it with pistachio cream. All right. What's in here? This is my Olga sweater by Petite Knit. Yes. You're going to learn really quickly. I have a big love for Petite Knit patterns. I think that they are timeless staple pieces that just fit really well into my wardrobe of things that I like to wear. So the yarn I'm using is the yarn I picked up in Scotland. I went to Ginger Twist Studio because I love picking up yarn when I travel and then making something to remember that trip by. You can kind of see it right there. That is from yarn that I got in Greece, and I made a Greece tank top, which I still have to fix. That's why it's sitting there. And so I just love picking up yarn from places that we visit and making something to remember it by. So when we were in Scotland, everybody thinks you're going to see Highland Coos everywhere, and you don't. But you know what you do see everywhere? Sheep. They are everywhere. it's like a knitter's dream, honestly. And they're actually overpopulated with sheep. We found out because there are no animals of prey, nothing to eat the sheep. So they can live a very happy life in Scotland, and they do. So I knew right away I want some Scottish yarn. And I went to Ginger Twist Studio. At the studio, she has Scotland yarn. She also have yarn that she dyes at her studio. And I was like, well, win-win right there. And she had, you walk into her store, cutest store, and on the right side, it's just floor to ceiling of all of her hand-dyed yarn. And along the top, she had samples. I have never seen so many samples before in my life of all the different colorways. So if you ask them like, hey, which one is this one, they'll pull it down and they'll show you, and you can get a feel of the yarn. She had a couple different bases, and so I got 2 colorways that I just couldn't decide. And I'm making a striped sweater, and I'm making the Olga sweater by Petite Knit. So the colors are Ginger Snap and Crunchy Leaves, which this is like my favorite. And I have made some serious what's the word I'm looking for? Progress. I was gonna say process. Wow, okay. I've made some serious progress on this. So I wanted to share. Okay. Without everything falling down. Okay, where are we at? Give me a second. Here we go. Okay. Ta-da! This is where I'm at. So I've finished the short rows on the back, and I've knit the back to the length that it needs to be. And then I picked up the shoulders, if you can see that beautiful line. Yep. I picked it up. It's gonna be really hard to see. Let me see if I can like zoom in. I picked up in between each stitch so that it's a continuation as it goes. And I've knit the 2 front flaps, the left flap, the right flap. I connected them at the front by casting on stitches. And now I'm working to the length that I need, which will match the back length. I think I have 5 more stripes to match up where I was. And then I'll be connecting in the round. And then we're just knitting in the round. So I very much love this pattern so far. There were a couple parts that I was like, wait, what? And it was mainly in the short row section. But I just finagled it and did what I did as best as I could. And yeah, I love it. It's a very low contrast, but I just think it's very cute. You see these little bits and bobs from the Ginger Snap yarn. I love it. It's so good. I really do love these colors together. They're not too in your face bold, but they kind of blend together really, really beautifully. So yeah, I guess my goal for today is to get it connected in the round. I only have 5 more stripes. I feel like that's doable. I'm going to sneeze at some point. Okay, I think it passed. It may come back. We'll see. Now I am still on my first skein of both. Let's say maybe halfway through. And I have 3 of these and 2 of these. And if I'm honest, I'm a little worried. I am the type of knitter that if the pattern calls for 5 skeins, I am the type of knitter that would be like, I'm gonna grab 7 just in case. I know I'm not alone in this. I always overestimate what I need. And I didn't have the ability to do that here. I've already checked. Yes, I can order it online. So that's not a problem, but I would say yes, I'm going to be playing Yarn Chicken, especially with this one. This one will be like cuffs and neckline and hemline and all of that, so I do have that extra one just in case. But I didn't get to overestimate my yarn this time. I Actually, I did the math, and according to this, I'm going to be like 40 meters short. So I'm hoping I'm within that. I'm okay that the numbers, because designers usually overestimate for their estimates. I'm hoping I'm going to be okay. If not, I have to order more. It's not the end of the world. I am what I am. I'm an overestimator. Which is how you end up with a stash like this behind me. Also, we don't judge people's stashes at all. We don't judge these. First of all of this, it goes up there too. All of this is exactly how it works for my brain. And yeah, I've had some skeins sitting in here for years. Primarily this box right here. Boop, that one. With plans. Most of these skeins, they have a project in mind. It's just whenever I feel ready to do that project, then I'll do it. But yeah, I have a lot of extra overestimated skeins in there. But they make for nice, quick little projects. So there is a very high probability I'm going to need to order more of this, but we'll see. So today's goal with this is to stop, don't roll away, is to finish the front, connect it in the round, and get working on the body. That's the goal. My goal is to finish this before our trip home for Christmas. We have so much flying to do in the next, well, actually we just flew to Scotland and then we fly back at the beginning of December, and we were going to shove a Norway trip in there, but our government shut down, which means we're not getting a paycheck. So I just felt better if we just waited. So we're gonna wait till January to do that. But we are taking the train to Zurich, and then we're flying home. So I want this done before I go to Ohio, just so that it can be done before I go to Ohio. That's the goal. And so those are my only 2 projects. Now, I'm probably going to hopefully be working a little quicker on this because I got an email yesterday, and this was a very exciting email about something I did when I was in Scotland. I have been saving up since January to buy myself a circular sock machine, and I had finally saved up enough, and I reached out to them to see if they ship to APO, which they do, and then figured out their processing time, placed my order, and when I was in Scotland, I got the email saying your machine's done, it's ready to ship. So I paid my invoice and it shipped. And I reached out yesterday to them and spoke with Kim, and she said it's on the way. Here's your tracking. It's left Chicago, which is like the last big stop before it gets to our APO. So I would like to say in the next week, it will be here. Fingers crossed. This is the biggest thing I've ever ordered to my APO. I think they're going to hate me when I pick it up. I'm gonna have to get one of the carts because it's very heavy, and I have 2 boxes coming. I also ordered the accessories pack, which also has the table, and yeah, one of them has departed Chicago, one of them is in Chicago last time I looked. So we'll see which one gets here first. But that stuff is on the way to me, and I am beyond ready to start figuring this out. My friend Nicole, which I actually will talk about Nicole here in a second, but she has one as well, and she was telling me, hey, school of, what was it? I don't want to butcher it. I think we'll see if my brain is working. School of Sweet Georgia, and I was right. School of Sweet Georgia actually has a circular sock machine class, like online, and she said that she, signed up, and it's amazing and 100% worth it. So I am going to kind of be doing that as well, because I want to know the ins and outs of my machine. I don't have a name for it yet. I wanted to get here and figure out, get a feel for it. But I will be naming my machine. I will be that person. And yeah, I just really want to know the ins and outs of this machine. I'm very excited. That's what all of this yarn over here is, waiting to be cranked into socks. So yeah, I'm really excited for that to get here, and it's almost here. So I really want to work on this sweater to get it as done as possible, so that when my machine gets here, I don't feel guilty about sitting down and trying to figure it out. So those are my whips. Yes, I have 2 other ones that are in bags that are out there, but I'm not going to talk about them today because the one I call my therapy project that I take to speech therapy and OT every week. So that one only gets worked on 1 hour a week. And then the other one I haven't touched since January, and I'll talk about that another time, but just not today. So what I do want to share about for my last thing of my knitting update is our Christmas sweaters. So this year I decided that I wanted to make us matching Christmas sweaters, and I decided this shortly after I found out, and we decided that we were going to be going back to Ohio for Christmas with my family. And yeah, I was like, I don't know, maybe May I decided this, and I was like, I want to make sweaters. Because there's nothing that I do in life that's, you know, half-assed. And I was like, I want to do this. So I decided on my pattern. Well, it kind of started with my sweater. I saw this sweater and was like, I need this sweater in my life. And it is the Snow Sweater by Knitting for Olive. It was the Christmas sweater from last year. Apparently they do one every year. New to me. I'm not a huge fan of this year's. It's the Presents with the I-cord bows. Not my favorite. I like that holly one that they did, which I've considered doing for this year as well. And oh, I don't know if it's them, but I saw one that had Christmas trees, and then like people put like beads and like string lights. That one's cute. I would do that one too. Not a fan of this year's though, but last year's was just like, and the reason being is because the motif was on the sleeves. I really think that's what did it for me. I was just like, that is striking, and I've never seen anything like that before. So I knew I wanted to make it. But then in addition to the women's sweater, they came out with the kids stuff, and then the dress, and then the hat. They never came out with a men's sweater though, and that bothered me to no end. And so I was like, well, if I do my sweater and I do Aiden's, then I can figure Jared's out. Like, I can find a pattern and just plug the motif in. Bingo, bango, bungo. So that's what we did. So when I decided, I was like, okay, what yarn? Now you gotta understand, I'm 100% wool gal, but my husband Jared is not. And we actually found this out the hard way. I knit him a whole cardigan. I knit him the Gigi cardigan in Lion Brand's Fisherman wool. It's 100% wool. It was a tweed. It's gorgeous. And he put it on and he goes, it's itchy. And I'm like, yeah, babe, it's wool. And he was like, can you make it not itchy? And I'm like, okay. From now on, you don't get anything in wool. He doesn't like wool. It's too itchy. And my mom can't do wool because she's like semi-allergic. It makes her very itchy. So I knew the yarn I chose for him and Aiden to an extent. I didn't want itchy because I didn't want to hear about it. But originally I was just going to do Knitting for Olive merino, because that's what the pattern called for. I was just going to hold a double instead of with the mohair. I am not a mohair gal. I do have some things in mohair. I can count on one hand how many, because mohair is just not, there's a bird. My bird. Sorry, I'm a big bird nerd. I actually had to change my shirt today because I thought it was a little inappropriate to wear, but Jared got me a birthday gift, and he always gives me these bird sweaters that are very punny, and this year's had 2 Canadian geese, and you can just take a wild guess at what I said, but I didn't think it was very appropriate for me to wear on my first podcast, so I didn't. But it's so cute. Anyway, yarn. I was just gonna hold a double. Mohair is just not my favorite to work with. Surrey, yes, very soft. I can do that. But you won't see me much with mohair. But Jared can do superwash wool when it's treated like that. Sadly, superwash is not one of my favorites to work with. I mean, I can work with it fine. I hate blocking it. It like grows exponentially. But I decided it was probably best to do a superwash. But if I'm gonna do a superwash, I'm gonna get some hand dyed. So I reached out to my friend Nicole, and I met her when we lived in Georgia. She's was in the Army at the time, and now she is out. So she's a veteran, but she's just a small business, and she dyes yarn. And I was like, Nicole, can you dye some yarn for me? I want to make Christmas sweaters for my family. And so without hesitation, she was like, yeah, absolutely. So Nicole, her company is A Spare Room. It's that way because she always set up her stuff in the spare room whenever they moved. So this is her company, A Spare Room. You can find her on Etsy and Instagram, A Spare Room. And I reached out to her and was like, can you dye me some yarn? So we worked with some mood boards. We talked about, you know, colorways, what we wanted, and ultimately landed that the trees and the snow was going to be the same color for everybody's, but everybody's main color was going to be different. So first up, I wanted an instant gratification. I chose Aiden's first. Why? Because his is the smallest. And I also decided to do just a vest for him. Now, Aiden is very much like Jared, and he runs hot all the time. So I figured this was probably best, as he'd get too hot in a sweater. And so his was the first one I did. And his was the snow vest by Knitting for Olive. And it was beautiful. We chose this really pretty blue color that the snow and the trees just pop off of. And then I chose to do a contrast ribbing for the neck and armholes in that white, and I just think it's so stinking cute. So this is Aiden's. I figure he could really wear any color under this. Black, red, green, gray. I don't know. Any color really under this. His whipped up in no time at all. So after his came mine, and mine was the hardest to choose colors for. She dyed like 3 or 4 of each main color. And for mine, I really struggled because I loved them all. And I loved each of them for a different reason. And usually I am a festive girl. Give me red, give me green, give me white, give me gold. But this one I wanted to be more of a winter sweater, not necessarily Christmas. So that's why we went for some non-traditional Christmas colors. So mine is this beautiful rust color. I actually love this brownie rust so much. I made a hipster hat in it for Scotland. Like, I love it so much. And I have just a little bit left over up there. Again, I overestimated all of my quantities for this, but it's fine. And so my pattern is the Snow Sweater by Knitting for Olive. And I did modify it. Let me talk about this modification first. So, in the pattern, it calls for you to knit the sleeves bottom up and then graft them on. I didn't like that. I don't like knitting that way. And there was actually some discussion about this because apparently the photos that she shared online were the first trial where they were knit top to bottom, and people said they struggled to figure out the length of the sleeve because of the motif. The sleeves came out too long. I had an advantage because I had already knit this motif in the same size yarn. So what did I do? I just got my handy dandy little tape measure out, and I measured from the top of the motif down to the bottom of the motif. and then I figured out that length, and then I figured out how far I needed to knit before I started the motif. So I had a little bit of an advantage compared to everybody else, and I decided I'm going to knit this sleeves from the top down. That's just my preferred method. And so I did that, and I think it worked out great. Absolutely great. But here's mine. And first of all, the sleeves, they look like a bell shape, and I was like, oh, there's gotta be some like increases that I think it was like two or three. No crazy amount. But oh my gosh, they are stunning. So here's the sweater. Here are the sleeves. Sorry, this has been, I think that's an end that I weaved in wrong. Let me look. Oh no. Whoopsies, bad. These are the sleeves. Now, I did not do the I-cord bind off, I think is what the pattern originally calls for. I actually did a folded hem, okay? I purled a row, which is the pretty detail that you see along there, and then I folded it up, and then I attached it to the bottom of the snow. I did that. I saw somebody on the project page on Ravelry did that, and loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think it gives just such a clean finish and really rounds out that bell type of shape. So this is my snow sweater. It's gorgeous. I have a skirt and tights I'm wearing with mine, I'm pretty sure. But it's just so striking to have just such a plain body, and then the sleeves really be your statement piece. Love it. So the last sweater that I decided to do was Jared's, and the reason being is because I had to alter this pattern big time to add in the motif. And well, okay, so here's what happened. I ended up choosing a pattern. Well, he chose the pattern. It was the Arkansas River pullover, and it's this really nice shawl collar sweater, drop shoulder type of sweater. It's knit from the bottom up. It's knit from the bottom up. So I did the motif right away. I really stalled out because his sweater's the biggest and his motif was the biggest. But I got through that. You know, I got the neckline done, and all I had left were the sleeves. Now the pattern says the sleeves are knit bottom up and then grafted on. And I knew right away I was going to have problems because I had to alter the body stitch count to fit the motif, which in turn changed the number on the armholes. So the number I would finish with the sleeve would be way more than the actual number of stitches I had for the armhole. So it was gonna be bunchy somewhere. It was gonna be bunchy, and I was like, don't like that. So I first tried picking up stitches and doing a cap sleeve, which is essentially just short rows to build the cap, and then you knit down. The cap sleeve worked great. I picked up way too many stitches, like way too many. I tried to follow the pattern backwards, and it was way too big. It was like there was a pucker here, there was a pucker here, there was a pucker at the back. It was too big. So ripped all that out. And then I tried a second time, and I just picked up stitches, and then I did my decreases, and then we started watching Harry Potter, and I was mindless knitting, and before I knew it, my sleeve was down here, and I was like, oh, I need you to try this on. I tried it on, and it was just too big. And at that point, I was getting very frustrated because, and I was really beginning to doubt myself. I had no idea how to fix this. I didn't know what to do. And so I was like, I have to rip it out. And Jared's like, no. Like, he hates seeing me rip it out. And I'm like, Jared, it's way too big. You will not wear this. And I want this to be something that you wear. And so he was like, well, it fits good up here to like my elbow, but then it's too big. He's like, I have very skinny forearms. I need more decreases there. So I ended up ripping about that much out. and I kept to like right above the elbow. And yeah, that was the key. I had only done like 4 decreases here because he's got big biceps. And then to the elbow, I just knit straight. And then here to here, I did 10 decreases and it was perfect. So when you look at the sleeve, you're going to see it decreases, it's flat, and then it decreases like kind of quickly. But it worked out great. And then I blocked it. And I got really scared because it really stretched. But Jared tried it on the other day for me and he was like, it's perfect. If the body would have gotten any bigger, he says it would have been too big. So, which is what I was worried about, a little big that way. But this is his. So he has this really nice shawl collar that blocked out really, really nicely. Big old motif with all the trees and the snow. And then let's take a look at the sleeves like I was talking about. Do you see what I mean? I decreased a little bit. It's kind of hard to see those first decreases. And then I knit straight, and then I really decreased for both. I decreased, boom, 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 boom. I knit straight, and then I decreased. And it worked out great. So his is done. His is very cozy. I have tried it on. And he looks great in it. He doesn't. This is the first sweater that I've made him. Now, I've knit him before, okay? I've knit him a cardigan. Like I said, the Gigi cardigan in wool. I had to remake it in another yarn, an acrylic tweed that was not itchy. But I remade it, and so he has that. But that's it. So this is his first sweater. I don't know, have you heard of that boyfriend's curse? You don't knit your boyfriend a sweater until you're married. Otherwise, you'll break up before it's done. I don't know. Although I wasn't knitting when I was like dating him. I actually started knitting right after we got married. Was it then? Yeah, because he deployed and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? So I started reading because I was like, I got to pick up a hobby, I'll read. And then I read like 3 books in a week and I was like, this is boring. So I taught myself to knit. So yeah, but we weren't ever dating when I was knitting. So didn't have to worry about that. But this is the first sweater that I've made him. He's so cute about my stuff because he will wear it and he will proudly proclaim, my wife made it. Just like I knit Aiden a knit lovey. His name is Harry, and he's a Highland Coo. And I knit him for our Scotland trip because we were going to get to meet some Highland cows, and Jared stole Harry. Actually, he has Harry with him today. Harry flies with Jared all the time. And Jared will like take photos with him on the plane, and he'll be like, Harry is here today, or, you know, Harry is there today, Harry's in Sweden today, and he'll take photos and he'll send it to me, and it's really funny. We have like an inside thing, and he's always like, where in the world is Harry today? And yeah, I think today, where is he today? I don't remember. I think he told me this morning, but I wasn't awake yet. I'll get that message later. But he always sends me photos of Harry, and people are like, what is that? He was like, his name's Harry. My wife made him. And it's just so sweet. I just love, he's so supportive of my stuff. But yeah, he did kind of steal it from Aiden. Whoops. But I want to make Aiden another one because when we were in Scotland and we met the cow, his name was Haggis. Haggis, the Highland Coo. So I want to make him his own little haggis to remember our trip. But Jared stole that one. I know. What am I going to do with him? So that's my knitting update. That is what I wanted to share today, which is really exciting. 2 whips and my Christmas sweaters. So It feels good. It feels good to be able to talk more about them than the quick little snippets I was able to do on my Instagram stories. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you liked it. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments, or you know, message me on Instagram. I love talking all things knitting, and projects and things I love, yarns I love, things I hate, patterns I hate. Yeah, I just love talking all things knitting. I really do love the knitting community. I have several podcasts that I love to watch, and which was one of the things that I was really worried about starting like a YouTube like this, because there are so many. But that's the great thing about the knitting and fabric community, is there's room for everybody. Everybody's welcome here. So yeah, I don't know how often I'll do these. Obviously I need to make some progress in between as things go, but hopefully next time I have a little bit more of my sweater done. Maybe my niece's hat will be done. Maybe the next time we do this, I'll be setting up my sock machine. And yeah, I guess it's really fun if you're here from the beginning, like 3 people that I know that have subscribed so far. I mean, you're gonna get to see the very beginning of this journey with the sock machine, which is really exciting. I want to figure it out and share about that. Maybe sometimes I'm knitting on here, maybe sometimes I'm cranking tubes on here. I don't know, but regardless, I'm really grateful that you're here and you care about what I share and what I talk about and what I knit. I love knitting, and I'm always knitting. I'm always talking about knitting. I always have my knitting with me, and I just love sharing that with like-minded people. So, all right, that is all for today. I will talk to you next time.